At the risk of sounding like a giant Game Pass sellout YouTube channel, I have to say, with Stalker 2 releasing a couple weeks ago, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle releasing just a week ago, Microsoft is really taking some major W's with the Game Pass subscription. I mean, this past month and a half, I have gotten a ton of value just off of PC Game Pass, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon, so take that as you will. It appears that Xbox has found their Naughty Dog / Uncharted-like game finally after all of these years, touting their big exploration game as Tomb Raider during the Xbox One era, but now we have actual Indiana Jones, like the Indiana Jones, as an intellectual property on Xbox, published by Bethesda and made by the minds over at Machine Games, who previously made the Wolfenstein games, Wolfenstein the New Order and Wolfenstein 2 the New Colossus, I think, or the Old Colossus. Regardless, those two games are insanely well made, and I had very high hopes and very high expectations going into this game because I am an unapologetic Wolfenstein fanboy, and if Bethesda was going to take my prized Machine Games off of the reboot of Wolfenstein that I loved so much, they better have made a game that was worth it and good. So I came into Indiana Jones and the Great Circle with insanely high expectations. And now that I'm 10 hours into the game and just getting off of the second area, I have a pretty good impression of the game overall, and I'm happy and excited to share that with you. First of all, coming out from Starfield, I could very clearly see that maybe there was a little bit of favoritism going on at Bethesda because the final end product of this game is much more superior in quality and playability than Starfield. Machine Games seems to be pumping out the best Bethesda games as of recently, with Starfield and Fallout 76 sticking out of my mind like a sore thumb from core Bethesda, so basically at this point I am a Bethesda fan, but conditionally on Machine Games' games. So this is a true movie game. I said earlier that this seems like Xbox's Uncharted. This kind of does feel like Xbox's Uncharted. This feels like a page out of Sony's book. They've made a game that feels like a movie, but also feels like a game at the same time. Some people might see this as a drawback, considering that there are lengthy cutscenes in between large spans of gameplay, or multiple chains of cutscenes throughout gameplay, but ultimately, if the story is really good and the characters are lovable, you can get away with that. And considering the fact that they are very true to the Indiana Jones universe and the characters are goofy as can be, and there's just so much fun, laughs, and interesting narrative throughout all of the cutscenes so far that I've watched in the 10 hours of gameplay, I like this. I really enjoy the fact that I can sit back and watch these cutscenes after long strings of gameplay and laugh and genuinely feel like I'm taking part of a brand new installment in the Indiana Jones saga. And honestly, it's even cooler that I'm looking at Harrison Ford's face the whole time, prime Harrison Ford with acting, and I'm hearing a very accurate portrayal of Harrison Ford's voice back in the day. Troy Baker has absolutely nailed it. I think a lot of people, if you told them that it wasn't Harrison Ford voicing his own character, I personally would call BS if somebody said that they noticed and it was a very bad kind of replication of his voice. I mean, for hell's sake, at the Game Awards, Harrison Ford was there and even told Troy Baker to his face if he knew he was going to replicate his voice so well, he would have just done it himself. He did do it himself, but at the end of the day, this is a very good voiceover.
You're forgiven.
Father, wait, I didn't confess yet.
All right, let's get this over with.
Father, forgive me because I've sinned. I had an affair with my mother-in-law and...
It's all right. Just say 3 Hail Marys.
No, Father, you don't understand. My wife is expecting a child and I fear that...
What?
Yeah, let me finish, please. I fear that my mother-in-law is with the child also.
Jesus Christ, what have you done?
Wait. You are not a priest.
Screw it. Sorry, pal, but you kind of deserved it.
As far as the combat goes and the general gameplay of the game, it's actually pretty good. It took me a while to get used to it, and I felt like in the beginning of the game, maybe it would have been best to go stealth, but I quickly learned that you actually can go loud, and you can learn the brawling mechanics of the game pretty well and take on groups of 3 or more enemies at once with all of the melee weapons scattered throughout the environment. As long as you don't alert the big bosses in the areas or like the big commandants, you won't have a million people swarming you, and you can take on some pretty big brawls. And as somebody who loves the Wolfenstein games, I really do like punching in the faces of a bunch of Nazis and fascists. Let's be real. The real fun of Wolfenstein was killing as many Nazis as humanly possible, and the fact that the soul of that is still within this game is very nice to somebody like me who wishes I got a third Wolfenstein game. Sorry, I don't mean to keep bringing that up. I really like this game, but I really like Wolfenstein, and I really want to find out what they were thinking of setting up after the second one. Along with all of the combat, there comes a lot of progression systems, most notably books scattered around the environment that give you perks. However, in order to activate them, you'll need to gain exploration points throughout the game, and you can earn that by taking pictures of key environments, doing side quests, which there is a ton of side quests in this game, and by collecting a ton of different collectibles scattered across the map. There's a ton of opportunities to collect hidden artifacts and secrets within the game, which will give you plenty more opportunities to get those exploration points up so you can get more perks activated, and on top of that, it will provide you a ton of content for the base game. And really speaking on those side quests, there are some interesting side quests that you can run into, and I think you're doing the developers and your own dollar a disservice by not doing the side content in this game. I see a lot of people already that were complaining online about the length of the game, and I'm just thinking to myself, why? There's so much side content. If you're speedrunning through the main game, then honestly, single player games just aren't for you in general. And second off, what are you doing? You are severely depreciating the value of this game by speedrunning through the main story. I highly recommend you play through as much side content as you possibly can and do some treasure hunts. After all, this game really does make you feel like you're center in an Indiana Jones movie. The dialogue's funny, it's quirky, Indiana Jones always has some type of quip or comeback, his disguises are laughable in terms of talking back to some of the people. People speak perfect German to him and then he'll just say an innocent American sounding hello. Like, stuff like that is really funny and adds to the overall fun of this atmosphere that Machine Games have created. Exploring tombs, having passing conversations with NPCs or other characters that follow you around through questing, this is all fun stuff that adds to the game. And not to mention the details. The lighting in this game is gorgeous, and I'm a really big fan of what they're doing with the torches and the lighters. You can really see in these tombs and you can light up the environment, and I really do appreciate that. I think the game is well designed, and honestly, some of the best moments you'll have in this game is going through a mysterious tomb and lighting the way with a torch and using your whip to fly across gaps, and that really is a special part of this game. When you're out and about doing your thing, finding new locations, exploring the world, brawling large groups of enemies, maybe lassoing them towards you with your whip or just whipping them in general, or finding a weapon out in the environment, there is a lot of fun to have here, and genuinely that might be the key word for this game is fun. Anytime it comes to the core gameplay loop, it's just wacky, goofy fun, and I really appreciate that. Now, of course, not every game is perfect, and I'm not just going to sit here and glaze every game I come across. I do have some criticisms of this game that mostly deal with the release version of the game that I'm playing on right now. Now, in no way did I find the game absolutely unplayable, but I did run into one major blocker which had to result in me reverting to an old save, and honestly, this does not feel as polished as I would have expected from Machine Games. That doesn't mean it's unplayable. The game runs pretty well. I've had one crash early on into the game, and overall, it's a very playable frame rate on my RTX 3080, and I'm running a 10700K. If you're on console, leave some comments down below, let us know how it's going on console. Now I'm going to talk about things that definitely apply to both systems. First of all, the AI is very wonky. Sometimes the AI will just kind of walk away and do their own thing. They'll walk into doorways, they'll spot you from like forever away, and their pathing is just really messed up. Another thing that I notice is that dialogue likes to overlap like a lot or cancel out. So if you're doing something and then you do another trigger, it'll cancel out the dialogue and it'll become a mess of a dialogue tree. Sometimes dialogues will repeat, so that's something that definitely takes me out of the experience. Another thing is physics. Physics are really weird, especially Indiana Jones's physics, which is, you know, you as a character. Sometimes you'll get knocked on your butt and you'll notice that it feels like you're a couple inches from the ground, and you'll have similar issues while mantling and just traversing the environment, and it's just really off-putting, and it kind of takes you out of the game for a couple of seconds, and it's like, whoa, you know, what just happened? What did I just experience? And now, if I had one piece of critique that I gave for the actual design of the game, I know I said a lot of good things about the combat and the adventuring, but I do wish they started players off with just a tad more health and a tad more stamina. Now, I am playing the game on the hard difficulty, so I don't think I'm really in a place to complain about health pools, but for stamina, I think I kind of have a bit of a place to talk, because in the beginning of the game, you can't really brawl like crazy. You don't have enough stamina to go all out and about against all of these NPCs, so I feel like those initial values should be adjusted a little bit. But overall, what I've been playing has still been fun, and that's kind of where my recent content has been going. I like showing you guys and talking about fun single-player games, or games in general that are fun. And it's good to finally have a couple months worth of games where I can say some positive things about them. This by no means is a perfect launch or even like a great launch, but the game is playable beginning to end with little to no problems. I might just be an outlier with my soft lock issue, but it's playable beginning to end. It has pretty decent performance, which was a huge surprise to me, especially considering the fact that the performance, or the recommended performance of this game, was like insanely high. I think they wanted like a 3080 Ti, which means they're out of their goddamn minds, let's be completely real. But it does run on my hardware. It doesn't run perfectly, and I definitely need to upgrade some stuff with my own hardware, but for the most part, it's a very playable, fun game. I do look forward to playing more after I make this video and going through the main story and doing a lot of the side content and discovering more of the mystery of the Great Circle. So overall, this is a huge recommendation for me. This is a good Christmas present to yourself. This is a good Christmas present to someone else. It's a good reason to buy Game Pass on top of Stalker 2 as well as Black Ops 6. I mean, Microsoft's been having a pretty good year so far, I can't lie. Being on Game Pass and having this subscription has been pretty good. I can't lie. I can't just sit here and say it's not a good value. And on top of it, in the future, there's a DLC coming already announced called Order of the Giants. So they're definitely in it for the long haul, at least for the next year, maybe year and a half from Machine Games. You know what? Let me roll back and not be too trusting in major AAA publishers, but it does seem like we'll have a decent amount of patches, we'll have a decent amount of DLC, and I'm just judging this off of the past that I've seen from Machine Games. I have high expectations from them, and I trust them. Machine Games has made awesome Wolfenstein games. I think the Wolfenstein reboot, The New Order, was one of the best single-player games I have ever played, which is also coincidentally on Game Pass. If you have not tried Wolfenstein, the Machine Games Wolfensteins, they are astounding games that I highly recommend that you play. But as somebody, as I said in the beginning of the video, who is a huge fan of Wolfenstein, this is also a very powerful mainstream IP for Microsoft to have and for Machine Games to have. And for that, I wish them luck with the future, and I definitely want a Wolfenstein 3, let's be real. But anyways, leave a comment down below. Have you guys played the game? Are you on the fence of buying it? Did this video help or deter you towards buying it? And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.
Sa essere molto persuasivo, non è vero?